morning, teacher. Good afternoon, teacher.
Okay, everyone, how are you today? I am
I'm happy.
Aga, I am okay, and I am good, okay? All right, so what did you eat for lunch? I ate chicken. Yes, Juice.
Fish.
Fish and egg. Okay. The topic for today is the science process skills. Okay, so this subject is for science grade 3. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So everyone, please follow after me. The topic for today is the science process skills. Okay, so let us start with the vocabulary. So let us all read. You follow teacher, okay?
Okay.
All right, so number 1, process.
Process.
Again, number 1, process. Next, number 2, research. Okay, number 3, skills.
Teacher.
Yeah, so number 3, we have skills. Again, skills. Okay, number 4, scientists. Okay, and in number 5, measure, experiment. Again, experiment. Next, control. All right, number 8, study. Number 8, study. Okay, in number 9, knowledge. Okay, again, in number 9, knowledge. And in number 10, we have the word solve. Again, in number 10, solve. Okay, so that's our vocabulary for today. So let's move on to our topic. All right, so the topic is the science process skills. Okay, so what is the science process skills? All right, so science process skills are important skills that scientists use to study science. Okay, so again, the science process skills are important skills that is used by scientists to study science. Okay, you understand? They show the steps needed in doing research and gaining knowledge. Okay, so in the science process skills, it shows the steps that is needed if you are going to do a research. So again, the science process skills are skills that the scientists use to study science and solve problems. If the scientists are going to study and solve problems, they are going to use the science process skills. Now, there are 14 skills that are sorted into groups as follows. So again, there are 14 skills and it was sorted into 2 groups. Okay, so let's move on to the first group. So there are 8 basic science process skills. Okay, so number 1, observing.
Observing.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Observing.
number 2, classifying. Okay, and in number 3, measuring. Number 4, using numbers. In number 5, using space-time relationship. Number 6, organizing data and communicating.
Organizing data
And
and
communicating.
communicating.
Next, number 7, we have the word inferring. So in number 7, the process is inferring, right? And the last one, number 8, is predicting. Okay, so those are the 8 basic science process skills. Okay, now let's move on to the second group. Second group, there are 6 integrated science process skills. Okay, so let's see. Number 1 is identifying and controlling variables. And in number 2, we have interpreting data and making conclusions. Number 3 is experimenting. So in here, we are going to experiment. Next, number 4 is defining operationally. Again, number 4, defining operationally. Next, number 5 is formulating a hypothesis or formulating hypothesis. Okay. And in number 6, the last one is modeling. So those are the 2 groups of science process skills. So now, okay, so let's see the definition of each process. Okay. So we have here examples. The science process skills that help us study science and learn new things. So the first one is identifying and controlling variables. So how is that? How is identifying and controlling variables? So in here, we are going to decide on what we want to observe and how they will control the experiment. The variables we needed are, or the variables we need are, okay, so first one is we have independent variable. Okay, so what is independent variables? Okay, so are the things we can change during the experiment. So again, independent variables are the things that we can change during the experiment. So they control the dependent variables. Okay, so again, the independent variables are the ones that we can change during the experiment, and then they control the dependent variables. Okay, let's move on to dependent variables. So what is dependent variables? Okay, so these are the things we observe or measure during the experiment. We observe the dependent variables by changing the independent variables. Okay, so again, the dependent variables are the things we observe or measure during the experiment. Okay, you understand? And the last one is the controlled variables. So these are the things that do not change during the experiment. Again, these are the things that do not change during the experiment. The result we will get will come only from the independent variables. Okay, so the controlled variables is the one that we cannot change during the experiment, right? Let's look into an example of how we identify and control a variables. Okay, so we have here an example. So the experiment, factors that makes guppies grow bigger. What are the guppies? These are, okay, it's a kind of fish. Now the problem is, does fish food make guppies grow bigger? So that is our problem that we need to answer, right? So we have here, we've made a hypothesis. So the hypothesis that we've made is, if fish food make guppies grow bigger, then they will grow bigger when they eat more food. That is our hypothesis. Now we have here the independent variables. So again, the independent variables is the one that we can change during the experiment, right? And then we have here the dependent variables. In the dependent variables, the growth of guppies. Again, the dependent variable is the one that we are going to measure during the experiment. And the controlled variable here is type of fish food, type of water, amount of food given each time, water changing time, number of feeding time per day. Okay, this is the controlled variable. These are the things that we cannot change during the experiment, right? So that is how you are going to identify and control variables in an experiment. All right, so let's move on to the next. Next is we have defining operationally. Okay, so what is defining operationally? So this is to tell the meaning of objects or things in the experiment. This will make it easier to understand and measure things in the experiment. So again, defining operationally is to tell the meaning of objects or things in the experiment. Okay, so we have here an examples of how we are going to define operationally in an experiment. Okay, so the experiment is factors that make guppies grow bigger. And the problem or the question is that does fish food make guppies grow bigger? So that is our problem. And now we've made a hypothesis. Okay, we answer our question. If fish food makes guppies grow bigger, then they will grow bigger when they eat more food. Okay, so that is our hypothesis. Now we have an independent variable. Okay, so we have here fish food. Okay, the operational definition is fish food is small, round, and high in nutrients. That is the operational definition. The dependent variable is that the growth of guppies. That is our dependent variable. So we are going to measure the growth of the guppies during the experiment. And then the last one is the operational definition. So as a result, guppies grow by looking bigger than they were before. So again, the operational definition is guppies grow by looking bigger than they were before. Okay, so that is an example of how you are going to define operationally. How about using space-time relationship? Okay, so in here, this is to understand one-dimensional or 1D, two-dimensional or 2D, and three-dimensional or 3D objects. Okay, that is to understand the shape, size, position, and direction of moving objects at different times. Okay, so we use space-time relationship for us to understand the shape, size, position, and direction of moving objects at different types. Okay, now the space of an object is the area that fills up and has the same shape as the objects. Now there are two types of space relationship. Okay, so let's check. The first one is space-to-space relationship. Okay, so how is space-space relationship? Okay, so this is the position of an object when compared to other object. Again, this is the position of an object when compared to other objects. Okay, for example, on the left of Gung is a grocery store and on her right is a barber shop. Okay, so this is Gong. On her left side is the grocery store. On her right side is the barber's shop. Okay, so we compared the position of the two objects. So what are the two objects here? It's the grocery store and the barber's shop, right? Okay, so that is how you are going to check the space space relationship. Let's move on to number 2. In number 2, space-time relationship. Okay, so this is the space filled by an object at a given time. Okay, for example, observing the growth of a sunflower plant for 70 days. Okay, so in one day, we have a sunflower seed. Now, after 5 days, there is already a cotyledon. Now, after 15 days, we have a fully grown sunflower. In 30 days, we can see that there is already a flower that is starting to form, a bud. In 50 days, the sunflower grows bigger, and now in 70 days, the sunflower grows bigger and it is ready to harvest. Okay? So in here, we observe the growth of a sunflower. We see the space filled by the object at a given time. Okay, so that is the space-time relationship. Okay, let's move on to the next. We have here organizing data and communicating. So this is, we are going to put data into different ways for easy understanding. So we are going to put it into diagrams, charts, tables, graphs, equations, or writing as essay. Okay, so we are going to put the data into these different ways so that it will be easier for us to understand. Okay, all right, so we have here an example of organizing data and communicating. Okay, so May read about the 5 food groups from different sources and made a record of what she found. Then she organized the data as shown below. Okay, so we have here a research data. So there are 5 food groups. Group 1 foods are meat, eggs, milk, and nuts. Okay. Group 2 foods are rice, starch, taro, and potato, and sugar. Number 3 or group 3 foods are vegetables. Now in group 4, foods are fruits. Okay, so in group 4, we have here fruits. And in group 5 are fats from vegetables and animals. Okay, so when we say fats, these are oils, yes, from vegetables and animals. Okay, so let's see the example of how we organize the data. Okay, so we have here a food wheel. Okay, this is how May organize the data. Okay, so in the center, she put there the 5 food groups. So in group 1, what are the foods under group 1? So we have here, we have meats, eggs, milks, and nuts. Okay, so we have here, what are the foods here in the picture? Milk. What is this? Fish, chicken, meat, and egg. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to group 2. Okay, in group 2, what are these? These are rice. What's this? Loaf bread, and this, what's this? Biscuits or cookies. Okay. Okay, so you can find here rice, sugar, potato, taro, and starch. Okay, how about in group 3? In group 3, we have here vegetables. Okay, so what are these vegetables? What is this? It's a what is this? Cabbage. Very good. Okay, how about this one? Bro, what is this? It's a broccoli. Very good. How about this one? This is onion, carrots, and tomato. Okay. Move on to group 4. So in group 4, we have Ita. Can you name an example of fruits here in the picture? We have
Watermelon.
very good. Watermelon, banana, pears, apple, grapes, and orange. Okay. How about in group 5? Okay, so these are fats, vegetables, and animals. Okay, so what are these? What is this? This is a cheese. Cheese. Yes or no? Yes, this is a cheese, and these are oils from and vegetables. Okay, so let's move on to modeling. Okay, so this is the last part. Okay, so what is modeling? Okay, so modeling, we can create models to explain the meaning of the data we get. Okay, so models make it easier for others to understand the data we gather. So examples of models are pictures, diagrams, flowcharts, messages, graphs, equations, and software. Okay, so we have here an example of models. Okay, so a model showing Kim's growth. So this is Kim when she is 8 months old. Okay, now this is Kim when she is 5 years old. This is Kim when she is 10 years old. The next is when she is 17 years old. And the last one is when she is already 25 years old. Okay, so this picture or this model shows the growth of Kim. Okay, so from small child to a big adult. Okay, right. So this is an example of model. Okay, so next one we have here another model. Okay, a model of Earth. Okay, so what is this thing? How do we call this? Anyone from the class? Okay, how do we call this thing? So this is a model of the Earth. So what is this? How do we call this thing? We call this globe. Yes or no? It spells as Globe. Okay, so again, follow teacher. Globe. Globe. Okay, so this is how we call this model. Okay, so we call this as globe. Okay. Next, the last model we have here is a model of medium of sound. This string shows as a model of traveling sound. Okay, so these are cans and this is a string. Okay, so let's move on to our activity. Okay, so this is our activity. You are going to draw lines to match the statements to the correct science process skills. Okay, so let's say, for example, number 1. Okay, Emily studied the body structure of butterflies and made a model of it. So she made a model. So what do you think is the answer? What do you think is the answer? Is it identifying and controlling variables, modeling, or using space-time relationship? Emily studied the body structure, okay, of butterflies and made a model of it. So what do you think is the answer for number 1? So here, so we are going to make a line from here to here. Okay, so since Emily made a model, that is what we call modeling. Okay, you understand? Okay, so the answer for number 1 is the second one. This is modeling. Okay, next, let's move on to number 2. Okay, so Anne defined the independent, dependent, and controlled variables of her experiment. So she defined the independent, dependent, and the controlled variables of her experiment. So what do you think is the answer? The answer is it number 1 or number 3? Okay, so the answer for number 2 is this one, the first one, because we are identifying and controlling variables. Okay, so the proper answer for number 2 is the first one. Okay, all right, please answer your book now. Okay, how about in number 3? So Gail lit a candle and left it to burn. After some time, she found that the candle was shorter. So after some time, she found that the candle was shorter. What is the correct answer? It is in the last one because we don't have other options. Okay? So the answer for number 3 is the third also. So this is using space-time relationships. Okay? Okay, is everyone finished?
Finish.
Finished.
Finish.
Okay. So please keep your books, okay? And then submit it here in school, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So please stay safe, everyone. Have a good day and goodbye.